Greetings. I'm called Matthew Ewing. I'm here with part 2 of the transformation series. Part 1 was on death. It was the first topic, dealing with the body concept for the 3-part series that is transformations. The second one is destruction. This is actually one that's rather near to me at the moment. Destruction is a conscious act, and one that is ingrained into the very fabric of reality. There's a lot of schools of thought that validate the idea that the separation from base or primal movements, urges, drives, and desires is the way to orient towards the spirit more and ascend as an individual. That's not possible without destruction. See, destruction is a sterile term, just like anything else. It's just a word. We've given it a negative connotation because we've always envisioned it being the destroyer of that which is sacred. But truly, destruction is just that, the destroyer, period. Not of that which is sacred or that which is unclean, but truly of whatever it's applied to. If destruction is applied to the old, the unmoving, the apathetic, the fractures and flaws, the weaknesses, to the cancer. If you apply destruction to that, then it's the launching point for new growth of healthy material. For instance, we all have habits, or programs that we get caught into, stuck, repetitive behaviors that we know constitutionally, like, we don't want to do them, but we continuously do them for one form or another. Usually it's because some sort of social imperative engenders us to do a certain amount of self-destructive acts in order to appear normal. Even that implies the necessity of destruction, self-destruction, but to live. Circular ways of saying the same thing. Destruction allows just for this: redemption. It means that no matter what pattern or structure or habit that you formed, it isn't the measure of you. It is but a part. And a part can never be greater than the whole. So if you bring the whole of it, whole of your consciousness, whole of your attention into the idea of destroying a habit pattern, undoing a series of repetitive behaviors in order to be able to form new ones, there's legitimately no way that habit pattern could stay. How could it? It also goes to the idea that you are what the unexpressed portion of this. It means that habits, in essence, are what you do, or what you have done,
and continue to do for one reason or another. If you can get your habits to be continuously enhancing things, of course you would do such a thing. And also, then the destruction, your destructive capacity, can be utilized in an outward form. And that would allow you to destroy that which is no longer fruitful in the reality that is outside of you. Once you've done it of the reality that's in, you do need it to in fact destroy the self. Get out of your own way. You destroy it just by bringing the fires, the red, the primal of your consciousness into it, and accepting there what you see, asking though for authenticity, and that which remains after your fires have consumed it will be authentic. Next is the mind concept of destruction. We speak of habits, the creation and the breaking of them. What that amounts to in the mind is new neural pathway connectivity. Let me
slow that down a little bit. Neural pathways are what allow for the electronic thunderstorm that is your thought process to happen fluidly inside of seconds. Many, many millions of things transist in order to bring even one single word into this universe. That process follows pre-established routes, paths that have been created over the path of your consciousness, imbuing certain activities with importance. The more that you do it, the greater the cultivation of that pathway becomes. The more open it becomes, the more electricity, light can then travel through it fluidly. Destroying old pathways is legitimately how you free up the neural pathway, the neuroreceptors, to go to new avenues. They legitimately cannot if they remain stuck and fixed in individual patterns. They can also be a continuously fluctuating thing. Every one of those fluctuations, though, speaks of a destruction of an old, a destruction of a once held pathway. What is true of the static form is true of the fluid form. The more that you expose your mind to that sort of free-form growth, connectivity, detachment, reconnection in different sites, the more that it becomes adept at such things, and your mind becomes more nimble in its application of the concept. This is actually a precept of what's called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. It means that the inner constructs, the inner workings and communications of your mind are a consciously driven activity. It means that you as an individual determine the predominant themes, the states of consciousness that you're in at any given time. It's a pretty simple process. What you do is you really bring your consciousness into what you're doing. You pay attention to it. And when you feel a certain way, a certain state, and you find it empowering or disempowering, let go of the judgment and just be with the state. Ask it the fullness of what it is. Let it show up to you. And breathe. Focus on something as simple as that. Cool in, warm out. It gives you the necessary detachment. That way you're not identified with what you're going through. You're not saying, I'm going through this or I'm going through that. More akin to this is happening. And what is it that's truly happening? By doing that, you destroy old, you usher in new. That is what destruction is for. It's the gateway. It's the gatekeeper at the very beginning of the octave that makes sure that you're ready to move forward and only authentic, clean material moves forward. And it's a gatekeeper at the end, making sure that you let go of all that you believe you possess as you move forward. That process is called purging. And mainly what you end up purging once you're on a consciously expansive quest is filters. Filters are, let's make them unconscious assumptions. They are predetermined ways of seeing the world that exclude your ability to see anything that isn't that. Let me give you a more tangible example of such a concept. I'm a man. Yes? I was born with reproductive organs on the outside as opposed to on the in. It's basically the only thing that would make me different than a woman, but that's neither here nor there in a topic for discussion at another time. However, being a man in this world, in this society, comes with, it's a loaded term. It comes with a certain predestined expression, a way that you're supposed to go about enacting being a man. I accepted that for a long time. And because of that, it put up a filter in my life that separated who I was from what being a man was. I couldn't see anything that I would think perhaps on this side more resonant with being a man as fitting into that category, because mine was based on a predetermined point, a fixed point of view of the man's man. Yes? That's a filter. A filter that over time became a veil and legitimately dropped over a portion of my sight, inner sight and outer sight. I couldn't see it within myself, so therefore I could not recognize it outside in the world. I could, however, understand there was a discrepancy, there was a disharmony somewhere within my own constitution, because so much of me has already been purged in the fire. I do not fear it anymore. The fear was the first thing to go. That which you fear and that which inspires anger, both are fire concepts, are asking in essence for the fullness of your attention, for the fullness of your consciousness. You bring with you the fire that is your essence. Energy came into fruition in 4
distinct aspects. It went from stillness into light, motion, heat, and sound. Those are the 4 aspects from the initial creation of energy. All of those denote destructive processes, undoing, unfolding, unleashing. Yes? It's the propulsion, it's the significator. It is rocket fuel, stardust, the energy that's pushing it. What's moving fusion is a continual state of destruction. That's what allows our sun to resist the force of gravity, to continue to give us nourishing light and bathe us in radiance. It's a continuous, beautifully balanced, destructive dance. That is what we are as well. That's how we get our own fuel. When you relegate it not to a subconscious activity, though, where that purging fire and where that consuming passion and drive, that will, where it's focused is up to the focused mind. There is a single portion of yourself that is above the measure of its parts, that is realizing that the drive for destruction is but one of the many that you experience simultaneously. So that can be applied in a constructive manner, as a demolition is necessary before a construction. This brings us to our totality concept. Totality gives me a time to bring everything back to the higher perspective that is the one. We spoke today of parts, the parts of the body, habits, patterns that we get caught into. We spoke of the part of the mind, the neural pathways, and how repetitive behavior and importance determine how adept it is at translating information down certain avenues. And then we talked about the spiritual concept of removing filters, removing, in essence, veils, accepting life without limit. Now, keep in mind, we focused on each one of those concepts, but it was us focusing. We were also relating those to other concepts that we've heard at the same time. None of those parts represent the whole. The whole is when you pull back and you realize the reverence of the part and the complexity of the whole. That's a totality concept. It's taking the understandings that can be derived from information and applying them in such a way that it enhances your overall scope and magnitude of life. Gravity, in essence, that's exactly what it is. Attractive pool of energy, of universal continuity, and of all the other forms that the universe takes. Humans being a very pristine example of them. Within the totality, we are all. Legitimately, each one of us is a singularity representation of the one infinite unfolding creation. Rest in that. Know that we are all the same. We are all in this together. I am here with you, as you are with me. I leave you in peace, love, harmony, and strength. Adonai.